Lina woke before her alarm, jolted upright by the scratchy burn of her own coughing. For a moment, she couldn't tell if she was awake or still trapped in that strange, dry dream, something about walking barefoot across a field of glass. Her throat felt raw, as if she'd swallowed a handful of mulch. She blinked against the blurry morning light sneaking through the cheap blinds of the apartment she shared with Ezra. He lay beside her, sprawled diagonally across the bed, one arm tossed over her pillow, the other dangling off the edge, breathing loud and blissfully unaware. It was 5:12 a.m.
Great.
She slipped out from under his heavy arm and stepped onto the cold laminate floor, hissing under her breath. In the kitchen, the light flickered, like it always did, despite the landlord's endless promises, and she filled the kettle, leaning on the counter as it heated. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark microwave door, swollen eyes, chapped lips, hair like a half-finished bird's nest. Happy Wednesday. When the kettle gave its thin, tired whistle, she grabbed her chipped yellow mug, the one that said "Keep Going" in peeling red letters. Her sister Mara had gifted it to her at graduation. A reminder, Mara had said, because the world won't hand you anything. Back then, Lina had laughed. Back then, she thought she didn't need the world to hand her anything. Back then, she believed a lot of things. She sipped her lukewarm instant coffee and opened her laptop. The job search spreadsheet was already waiting. 123 applications, 12 second interviews, and a sea of red cells in the result column. Rejected. 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 No response. Rejected. Lina rubbed her temples. 2 degrees, years of volunteer work, glowing recommendation letters, and yet her days had shrunk into an endless cycle of refreshing inboxes and rewriting cover letters that seemed to vanish into some corporate void. Behind her, Ezra's groggy voice broke the silence. "You're up early again."
She turned.
He stood in the doorway, hair sticking out in every direction, wearing a shirt still stained from last night's spaghetti. "Couldn't sleep," she said. "My throat's killing me." "You're always overworking yourself," he muttered, crossing the kitchen to rest a hand on her shoulder and press a sleepy kiss to her cheek. "Maybe chill with the job hunt today. It's not healthy." "I can't," Lina murmured, closing her laptop. "Rent's due in 2 weeks." Ezra shrugged. "I'll pick up extra shifts. Don't stress. Seriously, it's depressing seeing you glued to that spreadsheet." His tone wasn't harsh, but it still managed to sting. As if trying, really trying, were somehow a flaw. She swallowed and nodded, even though she didn't agree. By 9 a.m., the caffeine hadn't done a thing to soothe the anxiety curled in her chest like a hot coin. She showered, dressed, avoided her reflection, and sat back down at her laptop. She was halfway through drafting a cover letter when her phone buzzed. "Mara, did you eat? Also, checking, are you coming Saturday? Mom's expecting you." Lina stared at the message. Their mother hosted a monthly family dinner, a gathering of people who all seemed effortlessly successful. Nico had just been promoted again. Jade was starting her residency. Mara was preparing to buy her first house. And Lina was unemployed, trying not to drown in student loans. She typed, "Yes, I'll be there," but didn't hit send. Behind her, Ezra reappeared, dressed for work. Black polo, black slacks, the uniform of the tech support call center he hated. He paused behind her chair.
"Hey.
Don't forget my mom's brunch this Sunday." Lina stiffened. "Oh," she said carefully. "I thought we were skipping this month." Ezra frowned. "She specifically wants you there."
Of course she did.
His mother never missed a chance to check in on Lina, with that polite, smiling voice that somehow always carried disappointment. "Okay," Lina whispered. "Try to be less tense," Ezra added, scooping up his keys. "She says you always look uncomfortable." Lina bit her tongue. She didn't want to fight. Not at 9 a.m. on an empty stomach. "Have a good day," she said. He didn't reply before the door closed behind him. At noon, Lina headed to her part-time tutoring job at the local learning center, her only stable income. The place always smelled faintly of crayons and instant noodles. "Lina." Miss Han, the director, waved her over with her usual warm smile. You're pale today. Everything okay? Just tired, Lina said. Sick? Maybe.
MS Han pat her shoulder.
Take it slow. You give too much sometimes. Lina softened. Lately, Miss Han was one of the only people who made her feel capable. After work, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Atlanta area code. She hesitated. Spam? A scam? Another rejection? She answered anyway. Hello. Good afternoon, a professional voice said. May I speak with Lina Torres? That's me. This is Deborah Ellis, head of recruitment for the Asher and Lion Hospitality Group. We received your application for the guest experience supervisor position at our Charlotte hotel. Lina nearly dropped her phone.
Oh, yes.
Yes, hi. I'd like to discuss your application. Lina gripped the railing of the staircase. She was descending. The next 15 minutes blurred as Deborah asked thoughtful, engaged questions. Nothing like the bored, scripted interviews Lina had grown used to. When they finished, Deborah said,
I'm impressed, Lina.
Your background in customer care and operations is a rare combination. If you're open to a preliminary video interview tomorrow morning, we'd like to move you forward. Lina's heart thundered.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful. I'll send a calendar invite shortly. When the call ended, Lina leaned against the wall, stunned. Someone believed in her. Someone valued her. It was enough to make her cry on the bus ride home. The next day's interview went better than Lina could have imagined. The general manager, a composed woman in her 40s named Madison, smiled through the screen. I love your perspective on service philosophy. We need leaders like you. Lina tried not to glow. Thank you. I've learned from wonderful mentors. Well, Madison said, we'd like to offer you the position. Lina's breath caught. The starting salary is $70,000, increasing to $78,000 after the probationary period. Full health care, relocation support, and temporary corporate housing for 3 months.
Wow. I'm honored. Lina managed.
We hope to have you join us soon. When the call ended, Lina collapsed onto the couch. She laughed, breathless.
She cried.
She sat very still, processing the enormity of what it meant. She had options. She had value. She had a future, one that belonged to her. She printed the offer letter and folded it carefully. She would tell Ezra that night. Except she didn't. Because when Ezra came home, he was stressed, frustrated by a coworker, exhausted from customers yelling at him. She didn't want to add something overwhelming to his day. Then the next day passed. And the next. Suddenly, it was Saturday family dinner night. She arrived wearing a dress she'd bought a year ago, hoping it would make her feel more confident than she actually did. Lina. Her mother swept her into a hug before she even stepped inside. There you are, Nico said, lifting his wine glass. Finally, Mara grinned. You look like you have news. Lina blinked.
Ido.
You're glowing, Mara insisted. Did you get a job? Meet someone important? Start a business? Lina forced a small smile. Nothing like that. Dinner unfolded as it always did, everyone sharing goals, promotions, accomplishments. And you, Lina? Her mother asked gently. How's the search? Lina opened her mouth to mention Charlotte, but her courage ditto. It was enough to make her cry on the bus ride home. Ezra's mother lived in a beautiful townhouse with high ceilings, minimalist decor, and cold marble floors. The kind of place that made Lina feel like she needed to shrink just to fit in. Lina. Hazel greeted her with an air kiss. You look well. Lina managed a smile. You too. Hazel waved a manicured hand as they Saturday. Let's talk future plans. Ezra told me your job search has been challenging. Lina's jaw tightened. I'm doing my best. Hazel clicked her tongue. Sometimes a career isn't meant to be a stretch. Some people thrive in simpler, more stable roles. Nothing wrong with that. Ezra didn't correct her. He just stirred his coffee. Lina stared at the tablecloth, hiding the flash of hurt. Hazel smiled sweetly. Actually, Ezra and I were discussing whether it might be good for you to consider something more attainable. Clerical work, maybe? Or retail. Something you can manage without the pressure. Mom, Ezra murmured. Take it easy.
I'm helping, Hazel insisted.
Lina, dear, I just don't want you chasing impossible expectations.
Impossible.
The word lodged in Lina's ribs like a thorn. She excused herself, slipped into the bathroom, locked the door, and leaned her forehead against the cool mirror. She whispered, I deserve better. And for the first time, she believed it. Lina's birthday arrived 5 days later. She didn't feel celebratory, but she dressed up anyway. A dark green dress. Soft curls. Careful mascara. Ezra insisted on hosting her birthday dinner at his mother's house. It'll be classy, he'd said. Mom wants to do something special for you. That alone made Lina suspicious. When they arrived, Hazel greeted her with bright, exaggerated warmth. Happy birthday, darling. Come, come. We prepared something wonderful. Prepared. The word prickled at Lina's nerves. Several of Hazel's friends were already seated at the perfectly arranged dining table. Fine china. Tapered candles. A floral centerpiece. Everything too intentional. Ezra pulled out her chair. Relax, he whispered. Lina tried. Dinner was exquisite, catered, of course. Compliments, laughter, small talk. Lina smiled when appropriate, even as dread coiled in her stomach. Then came the cake, sparklers glowing, applause surrounding her. Make a wish, Hazel said.
Lina did.
She wished for courage. After the candles went out, Hazel clapped her hands together. Time for gifts. Ezra handed her a velvet pouch, a gold bracelet.
Pretty.
Safe. Predictable. Hazel's friends offered perfume, a scarf, a coffee table book. Then Hazel cleared her throat. My gift, she announced, lifting a glossy envelope, is something meaningful. She handed it to Lina. Lina frowned, confused. Opened it. Pulled out the papers. Read the header. Petition for dissolution of domestic partnership, State of Maryland.
Her ears rang.
She looked at Ezra. He stared at the table. You're filing for separation? She whispered. Hazel gave a soft, pitying smile. It's for the best. You and Ezra want different things. This spares you both years of struggle. Ezra swallowed hard. Mom. Hazel cut him off. It's already processed. All that remains is your signature, Lina. We wanted to do this kindly, surrounded by support. Kindly. The room tilted. Everyone watched her, waiting for her to break. Instead, Lina reached into her purse and pulled out the job offer letter. She unfolded it with calm precision. Since we're exchanging important documents, she said, her voice steady as steel, I have one of my own. Hazel's smile froze. Ezra's head snapped up. Lina placed the offer letter in the center of the table. I was hired last week, she said. Guest experience supervisor. Salary starting at $70,000, rising to $78,000. Corporate housing included. In Charlotte. Silence hit the room like a shockwave. Hazel stammered. You? But how? They want me, Lina said simply. Because of my strengths. My experience. My potential. Ezra whispered. Lina, why didn't you tell me? Because, she said, you weren't listening. She picked up the pen beside her plate. Signed the separation papers in one clean, confident stroke. There, she said, handing the envelope back to Hazel. Happy birthday to me. Then she stood. Chairs scraped. Someone gasped. Someone whispered. But Lina didn't wait to hear any of it. She left. Outside, the air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with release. She walked until her legs hummed with exhaustion. Later that night, she packed a suitcase. 2 weeks later, she boarded a train to Charlotte. And as the city lights faded behind her, Lina Torres stepped into the next season of her life. A season she finally chose for herself.